With just 3 rounds to go, Burns is far from safe. Loeb's just 2 points behind, and Carlos Sainz is in the hunt as well. They all need big points, but there's such a wealth of talent, it's going to be tough. Marco Martin thinks his Ford Focus is the fastest car in the WRC. The Estonian was the only man challenging Loeb in San Remo. They expect him to be fast here too. Although Marcus Grönholm's almost certainly lost his world crown, he'll still be fighting for big points, and this Finn is very impressive on tarmac. Second in Germany and second here last year, he should be in the running also. Then there's Peugeot's tarmac expert, Gilles Panizzi. He's fast, he's French, and he's won in Corsica for the past 2 years. Being French is a very real advantage on this Mediterranean island. Frenchmen have won this event 14 out of the last 18 years. As our experts can attest, the stages are technically very demanding, and this year a third of them are brand new. Richard Burns. Richard puts the problems of San Remo behind him and immediately sets a good time. Next up, Sebastian Loeb. This is the first time he's driven here in a WRC car. The Frenchman is slower than Burns, as he's watched by a spectator of the 4-legged variety. In contrast, Loeb's teammate Carlos Sainz has competed here 15 times before. The Spaniard proves he's a serious contender to take the championship title by setting the quickest time to take a narrow lead over Burns. He's always driven well on this rally, and he's determined to claim another good result. Marco Martin proved in Italy the Ford Focus has the pace to win on tarmac. It's a good start. He's third quickest. Petter Solberg is lucky to even be on the starting line. While testing his final setup for the rally, he lost control of his Impreza as he hit loose gravel on the road. The damage was so severe that the Norwegian was offered the car of his teammate Tommy Mäkinen. But Subaru mechanics successfully worked through the night with the boys at a local body shop so Petter could start the rally. No such problems for Marcus Grönholm, who's been competitive on tarmac all season long.
The loose sand and gravel on these tarmac roads is something the drivers have to look out for. On these narrow roads, there is no room for error. The drivers can go from the best grip on pure tarmac to no grip on this sand and gravel. Just a few inches off line, and a driver can easily lose a wheel off his rally car. This rally has a history of bad accidents. Safety improvements have been made. But it's still a very daunting challenge for the world's best drivers.
Grönholm safely negotiates the stage, and his teammate Gilles Panizzi also makes a cautious start on his favorite surface. Peugeot's tarmac terror is surprisingly off the pace and down to 9th. Over 7 seconds behind the early pace setter and rally leader Carlos Sainz, but already the competition is close. Just 2.7 seconds separate the top 7 drivers. Skoda's Didier Auriol is nowhere to be seen. The 6-time Corsican winner retired at the start of stage 1 due to water shorting out the engine's electrics.
The majority of all the Corsican stages are held in the mountains and are generally very twisty. The drivers with good power in their engines will benefit on the uphill sections. In the many villages they pass through, there are added dangers. There's curbstones, walls and fences right at the roadsides. On the downhill section to the sea, it's all about commitment. That'll make a big difference. Clean lines and smooth braking will bring a fast time.
With so many different surfaces requiring different levels of grip, the drivers face a real challenge on stage 2. It seems that all is not going according to plan for championship leader Richard Burns. Despite a very promising start, his early pace appears to have deserted him. Burns drops 4 places from 2nd to 6th. It's onwards and upwards for championship rival Sebastian Loeb. It's hard to believe he's never driven this stage before, but once again, his ability shows through. The Frenchman is fastest and poses a big threat to rally leader Carlos Sainz. That's because the Spaniard can't match the pace of his younger teammate on this 9.3-mile test. He's 2.5 seconds slower. Sainz's former teammate Marco Martin has only competed here twice before. How quick is he compared to his rivals?
44 plus left. Very long.
Martin started stage 2 just 1.6 seconds behind rally leader Sainz, so he needs to set a stage time of 10:05.4 to challenge for the outright lead. He's done it, but by the narrowest of margins. He now leads the rally by just 1/10 of a second. But there's drama for Carlos Sainz. His co-driver Mark Marty has left the time control without his time card. After realizing the mistake, they head back to the stage finish. Time card in hand, they set off once again to the next stage with Marco Martin hot on their heels. So Martin's the new rally leader, but only by a little bit. 0.3 of a second separates the top 3 drivers, and with the 2 Citroens going so well, that's bad news for Burns. The championship leader drops to 6th. On to stage 3 in Corsica, the longest test of the day. But Sebastian Loeb is suffering with brake problems. This is the only stage on day 1 that he has previous knowledge of, and it pays off, as he snatches 2nd place from teammate Carlos Sainz. Marco Martin claims the focus is going well, and he's growing in confidence with each stage. The rally leader started stage 3 under immense pressure from Sainz and Loeb, and so he can't afford to relax for a second. Can Martin react to the pressure? Let's compare his time with Loeb.
40, flat left tightens to 3 plus.
He's over 3 seconds faster. That's impressive considering the stage was just 10 miles long, and it means he extends his overall lead to over 3 seconds. Last year, Peugeot had a clean sweep of the podium. 12 months later, and it's a very different story. Richard Burns was 3rd in 2002, but this year, he can't match the pace of the Citroens and the Fords. After a lackluster performance in San Remo, he seems a lot more at ease in Corsica. He has a lot more confidence and is aiming for a much better result. So too is Marcus Grunholm, who retired in Italy. It appears that the 206 is no longer dominant on tarmac. The reigning world champ must be looking forward to getting behind the wheel of the 307 expected next year. Peugeot and Panizzi on tarmac was always the winning partnership, but the Frenchman just can't seem to get in the fight this season. It doesn't look good here in Corsica either. As you can hear, Panizzi's got gearbox problems and is claiming the car is virtually impossible to drive. He's not the only one who's struggling. Petter Solberg has already had an eventful rally.
5 left by
6
the car
miles
block.
into stage
Open
3, the electronic
118.
gear change on Petters and Prezes starts acting up.
6 right tight hairpin.
Solberg can't wait to get back to service when a new gearbox will be fitted, but at the moment, he's way off the pace. So too is his Subaru teammate, Tommy Mäkinen. He's down in 11th. Colin McRae isn't doing much better. Brake problems have him in 8th. 3 stages completed of the WRC's Rallye de France, and Marco Martin extends his lead to over 3 seconds ahead of Loeb. Championship leader Richard Burns is 5th, nearly 10 seconds off. The mountains make up stages 4 and 5.
34 left line.
Marco
maybe.
Martin starts this afternoon aiming to
3
extend
right
his
line,
rally
maybe.
lead.
50. 3 minus left every line. 32 right hair gravel.
But the Estonian is trying a little too hard. This spin on the second run through Carchese proves costly as Martin loses nearly half a minute and the rally lead.
And 3 plus left.
After stage 4, he drops down to 7th, but on stage 5, he makes a remarkable comeback to go quickest and moves up to 6th. Martin's misfortunes have worked in Sebastian Loeb's favor, but the Frenchman needs to watch out as his rivals are chasing him down. Yet again, Loeb is very impressive on his stage. He's never contested before. He increases his rally lead to 5 seconds on stage 5. Marcus Grönholm had the ride height raised on his Peugeot at service, improving suspension travel on these bumpy Corsican roads. And now the Finn is much happier.
9. Oikein miinus. 5. Ja vasen täys. 100. Vasen nopea. 120 ja vaseri helpoili nypy vähän sumpuu. 7 ja oikein miinus. 3 ja vasen eri. 3 oikein lyhyt ja vasen eri lyhyt. 8 oikein jouhee. 5 ja oikein nopee. Urat. 4 vaseri tiukka. 8 oikein miinusurat. Vaseri tiukka kirraa. 7.
On stage 4, Grönholm moves up to 2nd overall and is now Loeb's closest contender. This is one of Francois Duval's favorite rallies, and it shows. The 22-year-old Belgian is brimming in confidence after finishing 5th in Italy, and he's really hustling on this opening day in Corsica.
Ferme 60 corde ou frein gravier. Pour droite 70 ferme. Pour droite 80 en frein piège. Pour droite 40 ferme, très étroit. 25 long gauche.
Duval claims honors on stage 4, so that's 4 stages completed and 4 different winners.
Frein 25, droite 40 ouvre, pas extérieur. Pour gauche 70 ferme. Sur droite 100 pas corde. Et frein 25, gauche 43. Sur droite 60.
Ford this week is running additional holes on the underside of the front spoiler for a secondary air supply and more powerful engine fans, which should also help cure the overheating issues that they suffered in Italy.
25, gauche 100 ferme. Pour gauche 80 corde ferme. Sur droite.
On stage 5, Duval moves up to 3rd overall and is now challenging Grönholm for 2nd.
120 en frein. Pour droite 80 ferme, pas corde.
Duval's charge means that his former teammate Carlos Sainz is in trouble. The Spaniard, who completed stage 1 as rally leader, slips to 4th. Lars Solberg is also struggling. Despite the Subaru mechanics changing the gearbox at service, it doesn't seem to have made much difference. Gilles Panizzi has won here the last 2 years in a row. But so far, he's had a day he'd rather forget. It's unfamiliar territory for the Peugeot driver. On stage 5, he drops even further down the leaderboard to 10th overall. Tommy Mäkinen is also having a frustrating day. And it gets even worse. The 4-time world champ jump starts on stage 4 and picks up a 10-second penalty. After the early retirement of his teammate Didier Auriol, Tony Gardemeister is now the sole surviving Skoda. After 5 of the 16 stages completed, the Finn is 13th and currently out of the points. Five stages down, and Sebastian Loeb leads by 5 seconds ahead of Marcus Grönholm, but he's facing pressure from Francois Deval, who's just half a second behind.
This is the second run through the stage where Marco Martin was fastest this morning, even though he felt he wasn't driving very well. He will be looking to continue his charge, and the focus is clearly working well on these island roads. Rally leader Sebastian Loeb should be comfortable in the knowledge he had a second fastest time in here earlier today, and will be expecting to hold on to his rally lead.
The final stage of the day. Richard Burns seems to have forgotten his problems from the last round in Italy, and yet he still can't match the pace of his rivals here in Corsica. The Englishman ends the day in 6th place, so he's on course for some valuable championship points. But Burns' closest championship contender, Sebastian Loeb, is leading the rally. The Frenchman is driving brilliantly on an event he hardly knows. Just look at how confident he is behind the wheel. Watch the hood of the car. When Sebastian jumps on the brakes, the nose will automatically go down, but you can also see how quickly he gets back on the accelerator as that hood rises back up again. Hard braking, but quickly back on the gas. Remember, Sebastian's lead is slim and he's far from safe. He's going to have to fight right to the finish if he wants to claim his 4th victory of the season. Loeb's immediate threat is the young Belgian Francois Deval, who continues to move up the leaderboard.
Long gauche 80 ferme, rail gravier. Pour long droite 100, 25 gauche 80 tenir, sur piège.
On the final stage of the day, Deval moves ahead of Marcus Grönholm to claim 2nd overall.
25, long gauche 80 ouvre.
Meanwhile, his teammate Marco Martin is the comeback king.
Minus right.
It's a bumpy ride, especially for his co-driver Michael Park. Despite this moment, the Estonian sets the quickest time on stage 6 and claws back yet another place. Martin ends the day 5th overall at 18.5 seconds behind Loeb. With 2 days of rallying to go, he can still catch the Frenchman. been a job well done for Francois Duval, but his teammate Marco Martin will be on the attack tomorrow. And Nicky Grist, Loeb leads overnight, but by the narrowest of margins. Historically, the Pirelli tires that Subaru uses worked well in these damp conditions, so Petter Solberg will be hoping for an early advantage on his cut slicks.
Very good tire choice, no problem at all. Because it's quite dirty and quite slippery, so we had the cut for rain, but I hope and feel that it went quite well.
Richard Burns anticipated more rain, and he's going out on intermediates. That means more tread than Solberg, but the drying conditions means the championship leader could struggle with grip on this sealed surface.
Left max 100 braking, flat right 10, easy right.
The question is, how much will he suffer? Let's compare Burns' time with Solberg through the 24-mile test. He's nearly a second per half mile off the pace compared with Petter. It proves that the correct tire can make or break you.
We were on an intermediate tire, and it's what I chose. It looks like it's a little bit too slow for this stage. We should have been on a slick with a cut, but it's very difficult.
And that's what Marco Martin has gone out on. It's the right choice. Martin sets the quickest time and moves from 5th to 2nd overall. Carlos Sainz is one of the most experienced drivers on this unique Corsican tarmac. He's chosen a full slick tire. He struggles to match the pace of Martin, but still holds on to 4th overall. Marcus Grönholm finished 2nd here last year and is aiming for another podium finish this year. The reigning world champ makes the wrong tire choice. He's on a slick with a radial cut, and he's 11th quickest. Francois Duval's also on slicks. But he can't take the fight to Sebastian Loeb. The 22-year-old Belgian is 15 seconds off the pace. It slides down the leaderboard to 3rd. That takes some of the pressure off of Sebastian. The Frenchman safely makes it through Impazza. His lead is safe for now. In fact, he increases that lead to over 9 seconds. It's a great start to the day for Marco Martin, who moves up 3 places to 2nd. Championship leader Richard Burns is down in 8th after taking wet weather tires on a drying surface. Onto Corsica's stage 8, and the rain is really coming down. Richard Burns struggled on stage 7, but things are a little bit better now in the wet on intermediate tires.
40, flat right, 50, fast right, tightens, 10, medium right.
It doesn't matter what tires you're using. Driving in these conditions is still very, very difficult. If it wasn't raining on this brand new piece of road, Richard could be going at least 12 miles an hour quicker. Burns has a better tire choice than his rivals, but is still not ideal, and he's unable to gain maximum benefit from his extra tread. Most of his rivals are struggling, and that's because they've chosen slicks. That includes Sebastian Loeb, Burns' biggest challenger for the championship. Despite the wet conditions, Loeb, as you can see, is really going for it. His Zara is completely stuck. The seconds are ticking away, and Loeb's desperately trying to get his car back on the road. Spectators come to his aid, but he's losing a massive amount of time. Co-driver Daniel Elena even gets into the trunk to put more weight in the rear of the car in an attempt to get the back wheels onto the tarmac as they search for traction. But what went wrong?
On the
the replay I can see he goes into the corner too quickly, he gets offline, he then has to turn in a little too hard, loses traction and spins.
The Frenchman finally gets the car off the bank, but he's lost more than 9 minutes and he's facing in the wrong direction. It's painful to watch, so what must it be like for Loeb? He must realize his chances of victory here are slipping away, and he must be concerned about his chances for the World Championship. It takes him nearly another minute just to turn the car around. He's lost so much time, even the Production Cup driver Daniel Sola catches up with him.
I touched a little bit inside in the left and go a little bit sideways in the right, spin, but just on the side of the road I was blocked, so we had to wait for spectators and it takes a lot of time.
So can Loeb's rivals take advantage of his misfortunes? Here comes Marco Martin. He started this stage second overall and is in a perfect position to retake the lead. But like Loeb, the Estonian is on slicks.
And 3 right long.
He brakes too late and locks up the wheels.
13, 3 left.
The impact damages the suspension and he suffers a broken wheel. Marco stops to change the wheel, losing over 4 minutes in the process.
I think I made a second mistake this rally. We braked a bit too late. There wasn't much grip. It was wet and we were on slick, so really no grip, and went straight into the mountain and broke a rim. So we had to stop and change the tire.
Martin's teammate Francois Naval is experiencing his own problems. A stall at the start cost the Ford driver 12 seconds. Still, Francois capitalizes on Loeb's error, and the Ford driver takes the outright rally lead.
40, sur droite 40, sur gauche 40, sur long droite 60 ferme, étroit, 75, léger droite gauche 120. Pour gauche 100 ferme, en frein super piège gaffe. Pour droite 60 sur gauche 40 ferme. 60 sur gauche 40 ferme.
While this stage is new for Naval, it's familiar territory for Carlos Sainz. Watch how the veteran tackles the tricky conditions.
Cuarta, acá buena mano con la tierra. Para izquierda rápido ojo corta Ras, para derecha rápido ojo corta, para izquierda buena más, se cierra Cesar, nada más se cierra Cesar, para derecha que en cuarta le cierra y se abre, para 1, izquierda abrirse, izquierda acá se cierra mucho, para derecha acá se cierra poco, bien, dale, bien, izquierda buena más ojo tarde se cierra mucho, para derecha rápido ojo corta, para izquierda abrirse uno corto, izquierda acá se cierra, para 1 muy corto frenando mucho, derecha media incluye mano. Vamos menos 1 ya. Acaba acá, se cierra. Para izquierda, buena más ojo corta, se abre para 1. Derecha acá se cierra y ras, para 1. Izquierda acá en cuarta, se cierra. Para derecha, buena más ojo, acaba acá. Derecha, buena más ojo, acaba acá.
The Spaniard gets safely through the 9-mile test and is now chasing his former teammate for the lead. World Championship outsider Petter Solberg is also hoping to take advantage of Loeb and Martin's misfortune.
Opens 13, surface.
Petter's a little too enthusiastic, however. That spin cost him 15 seconds. He still manages to set a fast stage time, however. 8 stages have been completed at the WRC's Rally de France, and things have changed at the top of the leaderboard. Francois Duval is the new leader. Solberg moves up from 6th to 3rd. Martin's down in 14th and Loeb's nowhere to be seen with 4 stages left on this second day. Welcome back to the WRC's Rallye de France. Francois Duval is leading with 4 stages to go on day 2, and the weather's not looking good. At 25 miles, the next stage, Col de Corse, is going to be tough. Gilles Panizzi has so far had a frustrating rally. But the Frenchman's luck may be changing. He's got the best tires for the conditions. Even though the rain stops in the last mile and a half, he still sets the fastest time, his first stage win of the rally. Sebastian Loeb woke up this morning thinking he could claim his second win in a row, but all hopes are now gone. The Frenchman is determined to make up for his previous mistake. He's second quickest, but is still way down the leaderboard. So too is Marco Martin. One man looking to benefit from Martin and Loeb's problems is Colin McRae. The Scot, who's won this event twice before, is 5th. But McRae's not entirely happy though. He made the wrong tire choice, and to make things worse, he's having to drive with a misted-up windshield. Championship leader Richard Burns is still in the hunt for some valuable points.
Slow K right over crest. Long, 10, 90 left plus. 20, 90 right stone. 40, flat left, braking 30, K left in. 30 braking, flat left, 10, K right plus. And medium left 40, 90 right long, tightens, 20.
So far, the Englishman has had an eventful rally. On stage 9, he's dealt another blow. This spin cost Burns a lot of time. He's now over 50 seconds off the pace. He drops down to 8th. Deliberations in service regarding tire choice seem to have paid off for Subaru's Petter Solberg. The Norwegian is going well, handling the slippery surfaces better than most. He's 3rd overall.
It was very, very hard rain. It was very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. I didn't take any chances, any risks.
Marcus Grönholm also has his sights set on a podium finish. Carlos Sainz won this event in 1991, 12 years ago, and he would dearly love to win it again. He's taking it steady as he knows how easy it is to make a mistake on these Corsican roads. He's fighting for the championship. He's tantalizingly close to the inexperienced Francois Duval. The young Belgian is taking it easy as well, not willing to take any risks. Duval heads back to service, still leading the rally. 9 stages down, and Duval leads by 11 seconds over his former teammate. Grönholm and Solberg are on identical times. Burns drops back down to 8th. One of the main features of the Rally of France are the picturesque villages lined by enthusiastic fans. Plotting his way between the buildings on stage 10 is Skoda's Tony Gardemeister, but he's experiencing problems with the differentials on his Fabia. Only the rear one is working, and the Finn is struggling with oversteer, which makes the Skoda very difficult to drive. Fellow Finn Tommy Mäkinen hasn't had the best of rallies either. The 4-time world champ is reported to be happy with the Subaru, but unhappy with his tire choice. It's a totally different story in the other Subaru. That's because his teammate Petter Solberg did choose the right tire, and he's got pace notes that are spot on.
Before the stage starts, Petter's gravel crew has driven the stage to tell Petter and Phil where all the slippery corners are. Just listen to the pace notes.
caution, 30, extra slippy mud, cut 1 left plus.
At these points, Petter adjusts his speed to cope with the almost total loss of grip.
Open, 30, short 2 left, opens 20, very narrow, short 2 right, opens over crest 40.
Driving through villages, Petter will need to drive very neatly. There's a lot of solid walls if you get off line.
60, line into unseen, 2 right minus tightens, 60, 6 right, keep in of a bump into 1 left, narrow, tightens over bridge, slippy, surface, opens
The
30,
word surface tells
2 left
Petter there
minus,
is a new smooth tarmac surface,
and line
giving
to 5
him
right,
less
opens
grip.
extra long, tightens early half 2.
Marcus Grönholm is in a real battle with Solberg, having started the stage tied in third.
Ase pitkä nopea. Oi, oi.
But he pays the price for pushing too hard.
Ei pääse yli, sillä on betoni. Pitkä nopea, 9.
It's all great entertainment for the fans, however. Once again, Carlos Sainz is living up to his reputation as Mr. Consistency. This is one of his favorite rallies, and it shows. But even the man they call El Matador can't match the pace of Solberg, and he drops behind the Norwegian to third overall. Francois Duval has spent most of the day holding off his more experienced rivals. But now, he's only just hanging on to his lead. Petter Solberg started the day in 8th. There's one 40-kilometer stage to go and just over 3 seconds between him and the rally lead. Thanks, Nicky. So many times on tarmac, Gilles Panizzi makes the right choice, but not this time. He's off the pace through the stage, allowing Grönholm to pass him. And a typically aggressive Colin McRae. Richard Burns had his chance to capitalize on Loeb's demise, but the 24 miles of Col de Corse catches him out. He's nearly 40 seconds off the pace and slides down to 8th. Bad news for Burns, good news for Carlos Sainz, who's third. This is a big stage for Francois Duval. With Petter Solberg racing so hard, it's going to be tough to hold on to the lead. Can Petter on Pirellis catch the Belgians forward?
6 left minus open, 60, turn, don't cut, 2 right tightens.
If Petter can win this rally, he's right back in the title hunt.
Opens extra long, keep in, 50, line to 6 left tightens, cut 3 minus tightens, keep in. 30.
It's an amazingly quick time. Petter's the new rally leader.
I was not good from the start, but he was very good after.
Petter Solberg holds nearly an 18-second lead, but is it enough? A dry day is expected tomorrow, putting him at a disadvantage with his Pirellis. Sebastian Loeb's overnight position means he's first on the road today. He's finding the conditions on this morning's opening stage very damp and slippery. With the prospect of no points, all Loeb can do is try out some adjustments to prepare for Catalunya next weekend. It's the same dismal story for another of this rally's early leaders, Ford's Marco Martin. Today, he's got more problems. As we've seen before this year, the gear shift fails on the new Focus, so Martin has to disengage the handbrake and use the lever as a manual gear shift. That's not ideal when there's a succession of hairpins to do. Skoda's Tony Gardemeister has had a disappointing event in his brand new car. Didier Oriol retired at the start of stage 1, leaving Gardemeister as the sole surviving Skoda. The Finn's lacking power on the steep Corsican climbs, and it's looking unlikely that he'll finish the rally in the points. There's no problem with Richard Burns' Peugeot, but he and his co-driver Robert Reid have been feeling under the weather since last night. Off color and off the pace, it's already turning into a tough day for the 2001 world champion. Burns' teammate Gilles Panizzi has also had a difficult rally. The Frenchman hasn't been able to get the feel of his 206. This morning he's changed his brakes and it's just as bad. A year ago, Panizzi was invincible on tarmac. A year later, he's hardly been a contender all weekend. In the third Peugeot is reigning world champ Marcus Grönholm. It's unlikely there'll be a #1 on his car next year, but there's a brand new Peugeot rally car for 2004, so it may only be a temporary setback. This may be the man Grönholm's handing his title over to, Carlos Sainz. The last time the Spaniard was crowned world champ was way back in 1992. 11 years later, and it's looking pretty good for El Matador. Francois Duval was 11 years old when Sainz last won the title. Francois hardly knows these Corsican stages, but it's been a very mature drive, and he's still pushing hard. This could be a milestone in Petter Solberg's career. The Norwegian is aiming for his first ever victory on tarmac, while a maximum points haul would put him in serious contention for the championship. There is everything to fight for. There was some concern in the Subaru camp that Solberg's 18-second overnight lead might not be enough if it stayed dry. So let's see how he begins the final day.
Maybe 250.
Solberg's 4.3 seconds quicker than his closest rival, and that means he's extended his lead. Stages to go, and Solberg leads Rallye de France. Duval increases the gap to Sainz. Further down the leaderboard, there's a real battle for fourth between McRae and Grönholm. Sebastian Loeb set the quickest time on the last stage, but he's still way down the leaderboard, along with Marco Martin.
This next stage is the longest of the day, and it will be a decisive test, so Solberg cannot relax just yet. The first half is mostly wide and fast on an old tarmac surface. But it's the last part of this stage that is the most important. It's a narrow road with long, tight corners that descend steeply to the finish. Here, Solberg's Pirelli's grip could give him the advantage.
It's the first run of the day through Ponte de Cazzola, and the clouds look ominous. Marco Martin still having to drive his Focus with manual shift. His rally is going from bad to worse. He stalls on this hairpin to the entertainment of the crowd, but Nicky, this rally is turning into a real disaster for Marco.
Having to use the handbrake lever as a gear stick, this means the gear changes are now much slower. Let's compare with Sebastian Loeb, whose car is working perfectly. Martin has to be careful as his changes can damage the gearbox. And if he misses a gear under braking, he can easily fly off the road. It's a completely different story for Loeb, with a working electronic gearbox. Loeb can change gear in a fraction of a second. It's so quick he could change from first to sixth and back again in the time it takes one gear change in a normal road car. That's fast and a massive advantage over Martin.
Meanwhile, Gilles Panizzi is still trying to find some sort of rhythm to help him move up the leaderboard. Up ahead, there's a real battle for fourth between Colin McRae and Marcus Grunholm. Nearly 6 seconds separated these two drivers going into the stage. A fourth place finish would be a great result for McRae, but he has to set a time of 19:59.2 to hold off the current world champion.
And 5 right into long left, takes the 5 lane and 6 right into Keir, left and 3 right minus, tightens and 1 3 left minus, and right, tightens the slow 3 into...
He's not going to do it. McRae's 8.5 seconds slower. He's lost 4th place to the Finn, and he's not happy with his pace notes.
There's a note wrong back there after the hairpin.
McRae's teammate Carlos Sainz is in a battle of his own. He's just 7.6 seconds off Francois Duval and 2nd place. Duval isn't taking any risks. In contrast to Sainz, he's unfamiliar with these stages and he's driving at a pace he feels comfortable with. However, will this more relaxed approach cost him 2nd place overall? He has to set a time of 20:06.02 to keep Sainz at bay.
25 pour droite 60, sur gauche 60 ferme, sur droite 40 rail gravier arrivé, sur gauche 40 ouvre.
That's exactly the time he sets, but Duval is hanging on by the slimmest of margins. With 2 stages to go, he's just 1/10 of a second ahead. It all seems to be going well for rally leader Petter Solberg. On the 2nd stage in a row, he's 2nd quickest. Just 2 stages to go, the WRC's Rally of France, and Solberg increases his lead. But the battle rages on for 2nd with Duval facing increasing pressure from Sainz. We've had 3 days of drama in the Corsican mountains, but it's not over yet. With all his problems, this has been a World Rally event that Marco Martin would like to forget.
6 minus right close, 70, 6 minus right, 30, 4 plus right.
It's a huge off as the Ford slides off the road. This is exactly the same stretch of stage that Colin McRae and Nicky Grist crashed on last year. If we look at the replay, Martin brakes way too late and he's simply going too fast. After a series of rolls, just look where the car ends up. Thankfully, Martin and his co-driver Michael Park are unhurt. Meanwhile, Richard Burns' frustrations continue. He just can't find any speed. Burns is destined to finish 8th and pick up just 1 championship point. He faces a real challenge to win the title now. 4-time world champion Tommi Mäkinen has experienced some of his scariest moments here in Corsica. With retirement at the end of the year, this is the last time he'll compete on this Mediterranean island, and he'll finish 7th. Mäkinen's teammate Petter Solberg completes the penultimate stage and once again extends his lead. Petter is 38.5 seconds in front, so it should be a cruise to victory. Carlos Sainz has got to push all the way if he wants to get that 2nd place from Duval. He took a gamble with cut slicks for these last 2 stages, hoping the road surface would dry out. But on this test, Sainz loses a lot of time in the slippery conditions and is 11th quickest. That's good news for Francois Duval, who's desperately trying to protect his 2nd place. But just how much time did Carlos lose? Remember, just 1/10 of a second separated these two going into stage 15.
pour gauche 60 ferme arrivée, gaffe, 60 ferme arrivée, ferme.
Duval's over 10 seconds faster. The Belgian now has some breathing room. With just 20 miles to go on the final stage, we'll soon find out if Sainz's tactical gamble with his tires will work. It's all setting up for an exciting finish. Stay with us. Welcome back to the final stage of the Tour de Corse, and so the battle commences.
Derecha rápido, corta, abrirse uno corto. Derecha cae cuarta, de cierra poco para uno. Para izquierda, buena más, poco tarde se cierra. Para uno.
With drying roads, Carlos Sainz's tire choice could be the deciding factor. Next up, Francois Duval. Remember, he's using a wet tire on dry roads, and that's a real concern for the Belgian. Does he have enough of an advantage over Sainz to hold on?
Derecha frenando, derecha calenta, de cierra con C.
Remember, the Spaniard started the stage 10.6 seconds behind. Nicky, this is going to be a tough drive for Francois if he's going to keep that second place.
The young Belgian's under a massive amount of pressure here. What doesn't help, he's on the wrong tyres on a dry road. He's approaching the split. Not very good. His advantage is now only 3 seconds over Carlos.
Anxious moments for all involved. There's less than 6 miles to go for Carlos to make up those 3 seconds. Can those intermediates on the Ford hold out?
He certainly seems to be struggling on those tyres. There's a lot of movement there. He's clearly going slower. He's now lost his second place.
Carlos' slick tires on the final 1.2 mile downhill section make him the favorite now to clinch that second place.
En dernier split, c'est plus 2,8 pour vous et plus 12,5 pour Duval.
They clearly think they've done it. And the Ford team doesn't look too happy.
There's just one final chance for Duval. It's clear he's lost it long before the finish. Duval's third, Sainz is second.
Dernière intermédiaire, 4 secondes.
Solberg, meanwhile, starts this final stage over 38 seconds out in front.
Long and opens 30. Line into 2.
The Norwegian knows even the smallest mistake could prove costly, and he needs to be careful. If he wins, it's a remarkable achievement, considering his crash and shakedown the day before the rally even started.
One left for Slippy.
To think that on day 2 he was lying 8th and fought his way to the top of the leaderboard in treacherous conditions.
First rally, Dermot! Phil. Thank you.
Good weekend.
Oh, incredible. I've been so nervous. I haven't slept for 2 days.
Spot on.
Mechanics, everybody, you have done a brilliant job.
Absolutely brilliant.
If it wasn't for you guys, I would never, ever would have been here. And it's incredible. Thank you very much, all of you. Pirelli, perfect. Yeah! First time rally! First time rally!
The Subaru mechanics had their own celebrations. After Petter Solberg's crash and shakedown, they had to work through the night to completely rebuild the car, and then at the very first rally service, they had to change its gearbox. Without them, Petter would be back in Norway, and that's why they received the Immersart Star of the Rally Award from Nicky Grist. It's a fantastic win for Solberg and Subaru, with the Norwegian claiming his third victory of the year. In the battle for second, it's Sainz who takes it, with Duval claiming the final podium position. Maximum points put Solberg back in the title fight. 1 point for Burns means he no longer leads the championship. Once Petter returns to service, he's nearly beside himself.
Petter, this must be a very, very special victory for you.
It's been very hard weekend, and to win on tarmac and especially what happened on Thursday, it's incredible. You know, I don't have words, guys. You know, because everything is just because of my mechanics who have been working so hard, and just so good support from the management after the accident. It's no hard times or bad feelings, so I'm just happy.
Petter Solberg thinks he can win the championship this year. Can you do it?
Well, we are trying since the beginning. I'm sure he has a good chance, but also we have a good chance. So we will see what's happened now in Catalonia. I hope we can do well there.
Carlos Sainz is a new championship leader. Solberg's tied for second with Burns. No points for Sebastian Loeb means he drops to fourth. Citroën have extended their lead in the Manufacturers' Championship. With more, here's Petty and Nicky.